Warm greetings from the high 10. It is Everyday Shenanigans, and thanks for joining me on this Wednesday, hump day. Hope everyone is safe and having a blessed week. Yes, the Queen is on today, early. Thanks for joining me. I will be bringing you updates pertaining to Derek Chauvin and the sentencing phase that will be happening shortly. The update pertaining to the men who were indicted down in Georgia in the killing of Amaud Arbery, and also there is a gas shortage here in the Southeast in my region where I currently live, and I will be discussing all those said information today. Hey, thank you, Diamond Dozen, Howard Wesley. You all are faithful. Thank you so much, honey. Thanks for joining me. God bless all of you. Hope you're safe. Got 7 viewing. If you'd like to donate to the channel, $ Big Angie 129 Cash App. All super chats are welcome during the live. Thank you all so much for joining me. I will try to be on a little more regular. I've just been very busy taking care of things here. And so I've been too tired to do a live stream, but I think I'm rested today. So I will bring you more updates today to feed your belly and your mind. Thank you all so much for joining me. I've got 10 viewing. Great morning for coffee, although it's almost afternoon, 11:59 here Eastern Standard Time. It's very chilly here today in the high 10. Somebody is not liking us. Thank you all. Hi, Teresa. How you doing? Thank you, Wesley. Thank you for the compliment. God bless you. Hi, Teresa. How are you? Okay. All right. Okay, Teresa. We'll talk. I'll call you later after the live and we'll talk if you can talk. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and get started since I've got a few of you viewing now. My first update is pertaining to Derek Chauvin. And if you need verification for the storyline, the insider is the source. A judge found aggravating factors in George Floyd's death that could mean a longer sentence for Derek Chauvin. Chauvin could face up to 40 years in prison on his second-degree murder conviction. Defendants with no prior record typically serve 12.5 years in prison on such a conviction. Judge Peter Cahill found Wednesday that aggravating factors could call for a longer sentence. Derek Chauvin, the fired Minneapolis officer who killed George Floyd, could spend up to 40 years in prison after he's sentenced. Judge Peter Cahill ruled Wednesday that aggravating factors at the scene of Floyd's death warrant a sentence for Chauvin that goes beyond terms laid out by state sentencing guidelines. A jury last month found the former officer guilty of second-degree murder, third-degree murder, and manslaughter. Chauvin, 45, will be sentenced on the most serious charge, which is second-degree murder. The average prison sentence on that charge for a defendant who had no prior criminal record is 12.5 years. Going above and beyond guidelines called an upward sentencing departure can be granted when a judge or jury finds there were special circumstances that justify a lengthier prison term. In court filings, a prosecutor noted that there were 5 aggravating factors at play. Number 1, Floyd's murder happened in the presence of children as young as 9. Number 2, Floyd was particularly vulnerable because he was handcuffed. Number 3, Chauvin treated Floyd with particular cruelty. 4, Chauvin abused his position of authority. And 5, Chauvin and the other officers on scene acted as a group. Cahill agreed with those factors in his Wednesday ruling. Chauvin could have chosen to have a jury decide on the motion, but on the day of closing arguments in the murder trial, he waived his right to do so, requesting Judge Peter Cahill do it instead. Chauvin is expected to be sentenced on June 25th. That is the said information pertaining to the sentencing phase of Derek Chauvin. So a judge did find aggravating factors pertaining to George Floyd's death last May. I just read you those 5 factors, and we will pray, those of us who do believe Chauvin are guilty, that God favors a lengthier sentence for all involved, Chauvin and the other former officers, and he gets more than 12.5 years. That's the sad information. Insider is the source. Hi, Sherry. How you doing? Hi, Miss Didi. How you doing? My next update is pertaining to Amaud Arbery, a young African-American male who was jogging in his neighborhood last winter down in Georgia, southern Georgia, and he found himself in a very ugly predicament with some white men who decided to be vigilantes and take the law into their own hands. Captain Saber, you know what? Yes. And they killed him, broad daylight. USA Today is the source. 3 Georgia men who shot Amaud Arbery pled not guilty to hate crime charges. The 3 men who are charged in the murder of Amaud Arbery pleaded not guilty to federal hate crime charges and attempted kidnapping. 3 Georgia men pleaded not guilty to federal hate charges Tuesday in the death of Amaud Arbery, a 25-year-old black man who was chased and shot while jogging near his home, according to online court documents. Greg McMichael, a 65-year-old former police officer, Travis McMichael, Greg McMichael's 35-year-old son, and William Roddy Bryan appeared in front of U.S. Magistrate Judge Benjamin Cheeseborough for their first court appearance since they were indicted on the federal charges. They are charged with violating Arbery's civil rights and attempted kidnapping. The father and son were also charged with using firearms during the commissions of a crime. Members of Arbery's family thanked their supporters and the federal government outside the courthouse Tuesday. This is a very emotional day for the family. Family attorney S. Lee Merritt told reporters, this is the first time they've shared a courtroom with these 3 murderers. On February 23rd, 2020, the McMichaels armed themselves, got into a truck, and chased Arbery while he was running on a public street in the Satilla Shores neighborhood of Brunswick, Georgia, according to court documents. Brian, their neighbor, joined the chase, used his truck to cut off Arbery, and took video on his phone of Travis McMichael shooting Arbery 3 times at close range with a shotgun. Arbery's death, along with those of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, who were killed by police, fueled months of racial justice protests around the country. The McMichaels and Brian, who are all white, were arrested last May, more than 2 months after the fatal shooting, following a storm of public outcry after video of Arbery's death was made public. They were also charged with murder and aggravated assault in Georgia. They pleaded not guilty to those counts as well. They did not face state hate crime charges because Georgia was one of the few states without hate crimes laws. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp signed legislation in June, weeks after Arbery was shot and killed, that imposes additional penalties for crimes motivated by bias. On April 28th, the Justice Department charged the trio for targeting and threatening Arbery because of his race. And as they state, Georgia governor has now signed into law hate crime in the wake of Amaud Arbery shooting. The indictment alleges the defendants used force and threats of force to intimidate and interfere with Arbery's right to use a public street because of his race. If convicted of interfering with Arbery's rights, they could face a maximum sentence of life in prison. Attorneys for Arbery's family say he was the victim of racial profiling and have called the killing a lynching. Defense attorneys for the McMichaels and Brian insist their clients committed no crimes. Gregory McMichael told police he and his son believe Arbery matched the description of a burglar caught on security camera during a recent break-in in the neighborhood. Glenn County Police told USA Today they had no records of home break-ins or burglaries between January 1st and February 23rd in that neighborhood. Local media reported 1 car burglary. Surveillance video shows Arbery stopping at a house under construction before the McMichaels pursued him. However, the owner of the property said nothing was taken, and video shows several people had entered the construction site over the course of several months. In response to Arbery's death, Kemp signed a bill Monday that said bystanders can no longer make an arrest in Georgia if a crime is committed in their presence. Meanwhile, this week, a Georgia judge will determine whether the trial jury in the state's case can hear evidence of racist messages and social media posts made or shared by the defendants and evidence of incidents from Arbery's past. Jury selection for the state case is set to begin October 18th. Defense attorneys for the McMichaels want the jury to know about 10 incidents from Arbery's past. The lawyers say those incidents support the argument that Arbery would use running or jogging as cover to commit crimes, and the McMichaels had reason to suspect he was a burglar. Prosecutors say Arbery's past is irrelevant because none of the defendants knew Arbery or about the incidents before the shooting. Amen. The only purpose for placing the other acts of Mr. Arbery before a jury is to smear the character of Mr. Arbery and suggest that his murder was deserved, prosecutors wrote in a court filing. Judge finds probable cause for charges. Georgia investigator alleges use of racial slur. Prosecutors have also asked the judge to let jurors see text messages and social media posts they say show a lack of racial goodwill by all three defendants. Richard Dial, a Georgia Bureau of Investigation special agent and the lead investigator on the Arbery case, told investigators in June that Travis McMichael used a racial slur numerous times on social media and in messages, and that Brian had several messages on his phone concerning race that Dial called very concerning. Dial also said McMichael called Arbery the same slur as he laid on the ground after the shooting and before police arrived. Jason Sheffield, an attorney for Travis McMichael, said his client denies making the remark. This is by USA Today. Now, my last update. It's by the Washington Post. Thank you all for joining me. Hi, John. How are you? Hello, Crystal. Thank you for joining me. If you need verification for the storyline, the Washington Post is my third source. And when you go back to my last information on the insider pertaining to Amaud Arbery, I think that was, hold on one second. Let me make sure I'm getting that right. No, USA Today, I'm sorry. USA Today is the source for the Amaud Arbery. You will see the photos of the defendants and of the victim if you need verification. Sorry about that. Thank you all for joining me. Washington Post is my third source. Fuel shortages crop up in Southeast. Gas prices climb after pipeline hack. While Colonial Pipeline works to restore service after last week's cyber attack, some gas stations in Virginia, Georgia, Florida, and other states are reporting dry pumps and long lines. This is for those of you who live in the dirty South and you are worried about getting gasoline for your car, your big boy truck. Thanks for joining me. Lines of panicked drivers overwhelmed gas stations in the Southeast on Tuesday as rising prices fed fears of shortages in the aftermath of a ransomware attack that forced the nation's largest fuel pipeline offline. In Atlanta, one of every 5 gas stations was reported to be out of fuel Tuesday evening. Look how crazy we're all getting over every little thing, said Alan Hardy, a plumber who had driven from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina to Wilmington, North Carolina, and saw long lines at every service station on the road, save for those that had already run out of gas. The only reason the shortage isn't worse is that a lot of people aren't working right now. Today, it's our oil pipeline, but what will it be tomorrow? If this kind of thing comes at another time, you can just gauge how bad it might get. In Washington, Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm said the Southeast can expect a crunch that will take several days to alleviate. We have gasoline, she said during a White House briefing. We just have to get it to the right places. And that's why I think the next couple of days will be challenging. She said Colonial Pipeline officials had told her that a decision on a full restart could come as soon as Wednesday evening. The Colonial Pipeline system, which moves about 45% of the East Coast fuel, shut down Friday after hackers thought to be based in the former Soviet Union infiltrated servers and encrypted its data, demanding a fee to restore access. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, who was at the White House briefing, said American organizations have lost more than $350 million this year as a result of ransomware attacks. The threat is not imminent, he said. It is upon us. Now, consumers are seeing some of the fallout as Colonial pushes to resume service by the end of the week. As of Tuesday, governors in North Carolina, Georgia, and Virginia had declared states of emergency and taken steps to relax fuel transport rules to ease pain at the pump. More than 7% of gas stations in Virginia, 8% in North Carolina, 5% in Georgia were without fuel late Tuesday afternoon, according to Patrick DeHaan, an oil analyst at Gas Buddy. A number of stations in Florida, Alabama, South Carolina also reported dry pumps. DeHaan said dual demand in these states spiked 40% on Monday and cautioned against panic buying, which will only exacerbate the shortages. It is vital that motorists do not overwhelm the system by filling their tanks, DeHaan said in analysis. But plenty of motorists weren't listening. The owner of Masonboro Country Store in Wilmington, Musa Agil, said lines began forming just after 6 a.m., had not abated all day, blocking the flow of traffic on 2-lane Masonboro Loop Road. He spent the day managing traffic and trying to keep the peace as some motorists cut lines and others filled up a dozen tanks and jugs. By 3 p.m., Agil was down to his last 200 gallons and told the packed parking lot that he would soon have to shut down. Some people are selfish, taking more gas than they need, he said, but most people are just scared. Graham said there is no cause for hoarding gasoline because the pipeline will be substantially back online by the weekend. But local news outlets from Florida to North Carolina reported long lines and dry pumps. The national average for a gallon of gasoline stood at $2.98 on Tuesday, according to AAA. That's an 8-cent jump on the week and a penny shy of prices not seen since November 2014. Graham had a warning for service station operators. We will have no tolerance for price gouging, she said. And she urged consumers to inform their state attorney general's office if they suspect it is taking place. Some Republican office holders took shots at Biden administration over the shutdown, despite earlier reticence among some in Congress to criticize former President Trump's close relationship with Vladimir Putin. Representative Madison Cawthorn of North Carolina, Republican, told Fox News the Biden administration must finally step up and acknowledge that their weak stance on Russia has real-world consequences. At a gas station just down the road from Agil's, drivers spread blame for the debacle all around. At the Biden administration, and Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Democrat of New York, and the Green New Deal. At the gas stations and oil companies, supposedly hoarding and gouging. And the Russians and their hackers. Finally, one man in a black pickup truck pointed the finger somewhere closer to home. This is our fault, Devin Singer of Wilmington said. This whole thing, the people's fault. Same thing with the whole toilet paper shortage. Everybody wants something and nobody has it. So we all freak out and then nobody can get it. It's mass hysteria. Mayorkas said the Biden administration is prepared, if necessary, to waive the Jones Act, which normally forbids foreign flag ships from carrying cargoes between U.S. ports. The Federal Railroad Administration is analyzing the possibility of shipping gasoline or jet fuel by train, Granholm Holmes said. These are not easy solutions, she cautioned. The pipe is the best way to go. The Colonial Pipeline carries fuel from Gulf Coast refineries to customers. On the East Coast, the company says the pipeline provides fuel for 50 million Americans in several major airports. The shutdown will have implications on both gasoline supply and prices, but the impact will vary regionally. Areas including Mississippi, Tennessee, and the East Coast from Georgia into Delaware are most likely to experience limited fuel availability and price increases as early as this week. Jeanette McGee, AAA spokeswoman, said in a statement, these states may see prices increase 3 to 7 cents this week. The FBI issued a statement confirming the Dark Side, a criminal ransomware group based in Eastern Europe, was behind the cyber attack. Ransomware attacks have become a global scourge, affecting banks, hospitals, universities, and municipalities in recent years. Almost 2,400 organizations in the United States were victimized last year alone, one security firm reported. But the attackers are increasingly targeting industrial sectors because these firms are more willing to pay up to regain control of their systems, experts say. Roughly 43% of infrastructure organizations victimized by such attacks submit to ransom demands, more than any other industry, according to the Sophos 2020 State of Ransomware report. The report said that 64% of infrastructure organizations surveyed saw a spike in cyber attacks in 2020, and that 57% of IT managers felt such attacks had become too sophisticated for them to fend off effectively on their own. The unfortunate truth is that infrastructure today is so vulnerable that just about anyone who wants to get in can get in, Dan Chiappa, Sophos chief product officer, said in comments emailed to the Post. He called infrastructure an easy and lucrative target. They're hitting where it hurts, hedging bets on a large payout. In cyberspace, Mayorkas said one is only as strong as one's weakest link. Analysts have focused on the vulnerabilities of America's aging infrastructure. The Colonial Pipeline system was installed in the 1970s, but some warn that new technologies are also at risk of cyber attack. Power grid infrastructure is a likely target, said Pavel Makhanoff, an energy analyst with Raymond James. The principal advantages of the smart grid, digitization and decentralization, also offer more pathways for cyber criminals to target, he said. Elias Buhar, an associate professor at the University of Texas at San Antonio, has studied electric vehicle charging stations, and in an unpublished paper, he writes, the EV charging ecosystem, one of the world's most proliferating ecosystems, suffers from critical vulnerabilities within its most fundamental entities. In the rush to install charging stations across the country, he wrote, vendors have paid too little attention to keeping them secure from hackers. That is sorry, it's a bit winded. Washington Post is the source. So let me speak on that for a minute since I'm on that topic. I don't believe in any company paying off ransoms to anyone that has violated their computer system, because this is what happens. You pay a ransom. Somebody gets wind that you paid a ransom for a cyber attack. Now everybody and their mama will start infiltrating your system, and you'll be paying ransoms every damn day. That is ignorant to me. You have money, insurance, to hire the best team to investigate cyber attacks. So what you do is you go for the head, chop it off, put it on a block, and you go from there. You never pay the ransom. Everybody knows that. You know that just from kidnapped victims. You never pay the ransom because it usually backfires if you do. So I don't agree with any corporation paying a ransom for a person to jump out of their system. Prayers for the Southeast, East Coast. Those of you who are in need of gas, please be sparingly with your gas. Do not go get extra jugs of gas if you don't need it. Because like they said, like one gentleman said, someone started talking about a pandemic. Next thing you know, there's no toilet paper. There's no sanitizer. There's no Lysol. There's no nothing. Then you're in there buying bags of rice, boxes of rice. Then you buy up all the meat, all the eggs. It's the same thing. Calm down. They said by the weekend, everything should be back to normal. So please, do not go get extra gas in jugs and containers. Be respectful of those who need their petrol as well. As far as Derek Chauvin, we will see what happens with the sentencing. I find it interesting that he did not want the jury to render a sentence. That's to be expected because he knew these are the same people that found me guilty of killing George Floyd. Hell no, I don't want them sentencing me. I'll wait on the judge. I'll let the judge decide because he may show me more favor than 12 members. You may be on to something, Mr. Chauvin. But I hope Mr. Cahill sticks it to you because you deserve every year. 9 minutes of a man on the ground, that should be your appetizer. 9 years. And then some. You deserve all 40 plus because you and those monkeys didn't give a damn about that man. And you all did act as a group. And I do agree with the judge's finding of aggravating circumstances. There were children on the side of the road watching. And of course, his attorney tried to dispute that. Well, it's not like they were in a house and witnessed a crime. Doesn't matter, homeboy. A crime is a crime. Schoolhouse, home, public street, store, business. What's the difference? The man died in public view of citizens. And then it was filmed via cell phone. So then the video went viral worldwide. Amaud Arbery. We know in this day and time that whenever a victim passes away or brutally murdered, people love to bring up things about their past. Yes, Amaud has a past. There was an issue of a theft of a TV, if I'm not mistaken. But my thing is this. As the document says, you all didn't know Arbery beforehand. You never met him. You never talked to him. You didn't know if he had a criminal record. You didn't know anything. You just saw a black man running through the neighborhood, jogging. Your speculation, he was running. He was jogging. I don't even think he had a shirt on. So where the hell would he be going jogging without a bag? Who jogs around with nothing on their persons but just their 2 arms and 2 feet? He didn't have anything to carry anything, And as the report also states, you only had one car burglary from the 1st of January to February 23rd. So what break-ins were you speaking of, Mr. McMichael? Because you're just a liar. We know about Georgia. Georgia's a dirty state, racist, just like all other states in the union. There's probably not a state on this docket that ain't racist. Point blank. Everybody can succumb to racism. But Georgia's a dirty state. They have strict Southern old white folk laws in Georgia. I keep trying to tell people that. Don't do nothing in Georgia. Don't even walk your dog and don't poop or scoop in the state of Georgia. I'm keeping it real. These states, Georgia, Mississippi, North Carolina, South Carolina, still have good old boy white folk rules as their laws. Just keeping it real. So they took the law into their own hands. But I commend the governor for saying nobody in the state of Georgia from here on out can do a citizen's arrest of another civilian in the state of Georgia if you think he or she has committed a crime. We now know he didn't commit a crime. He was just peeping, being nosy with what people do. You know, you can drive by somebody's house and look at it, take a picture. Doesn't mean you're trying to rob it. Doesn't mean you're trying to set the people up to rob their house. You can just be like, man, this is a pretty house. I mean, I did it the other day. Took a picture of someone's house, sent it to someone, just to show them, the neighborhood that I'm in now. But that's the thing. You have to be careful what you do. Now, imagine if I stood outside on the sidewalk and took the picture. I probably would have got jumped before I even got in my damn car. So I took the picture from inside my car because I know how crazy people are. And as I state, I live in the South. And the place I am now is more predominantly white. So I know the rules. Kidnapping charges, yes. Attempted kidnapping. Kidnapping means just what it says. You tried, attempted to keep a person in one place. Tennessee passed that law many moons ago. If a person makes you move 2 feet, that is considered kidnapping. You didn't get their permission. You tell them not to move. You put them in a corner, in a room. Doesn't matter. It's kidnapping. Even in the same location, same house. Doesn't matter. You're restraining a person. You're forcing them not to move. Could be in a car. It is kidnapping. Does not matter. And that is the said information. But the thing that's crazy is these people have racist texts, messages, social media posts. McMichael has posts talking bad about black people. And then their friend Brian has racist talk on his phone. So I do pray that all that information will be brought forth in the court proceedings, because people on the jury need to know who these people are and what they are about. And they didn't care for black people and don't mind using the N word. And if you go back into history, reading social media posts from McMichael's white daughter, who obviously likes black men. I don't even think she's ever dated a white man before. She let that be known on social media, but yet she was the same one sharing the picture of a dead man laying on the ground that her daddy just shot. Now you put that on paper. You like black men, you laid up with a black man, but you sharing a picture of a dead black man that your daddy just shot, him and your brother. Yeah, Queen brings it to you. I don't shortchange you. You see, this is why I tell you Facebook, dangerous. Social media, dangerous. Because a lot of people gave that white girl flack. They said, well, wait a minute, homegirl. You like black men, so we confused. You like black men, but your daddy don't. Ex-cop, put it on paper. You what, laying up in your daddy's house? Do you stay with your daddy? Stay woke. But your daddy don't like dark meat. But you do. Yeah, I'm throwing in a little extra tea for you, just so you'll know what's really going on. And then your daddy kills a black man. His homeboy corners him with the truck. The friend is filming it. You get wind of the video and you sharing it to social media. And the black folks raised holy hell. Probably some white folks too. Like, this chick is crazy. How you gonna share this picture of your daddy killing his man, him and your brother and friend, blocking him out where he could not walk, run, get away? And you like black men, and you adamantly told the world that on social media. I'm dead. Hello, Norma. How you doing? Thank you all for joining me. Thank the mods for joining me. This is a crazy world that we are in. So I brought you 3 stories today. Derek Chauvin may only get 12.5 years. And this is a depiction from state law because he doesn't have a criminal record. But know that the judge found aggravating factors pertaining to the death of George Floyd, the murder of George Floyd. So he still may get more time irregardless. Irregardless. And we have a gas shortage in East Tennessee. So pray for us here in East Tennessee with the gas. Praying that everyone will be respectful in getting gas and not get more than they need. And I also pray that these entities that own gas stations will not be price gouging, because it is unfair to the consumer to have to pay ridiculous price just so they can drive around. Family, that they get justice in their son, because no matter what happened with Amaud in his past, it is irrelevant, because as long as you don't have any proof of a said crime, commission of a crime, he had every right to go about his business. And if he wanted to stop and look at a house that was under construction, what was the harm? He didn't take anything. He didn't vandalize anything. The owner said that, who owns the property. And it also states in that filing document that others have stopped at the same previous construction and viewed the construction. And nobody shot, killed, attempted to kidnap those said people. Thank you all for joining me. If you want to donate to the channel, $ Big Angie 129 Cash App. All super chats are welcome during the live. Thank you all so much for joining me. God bless all of you. This is a very short live. Already 32 minutes. But I just want to bring you the said information pertaining to Derek Chauvin, that the judge found aggravating factors. And I brought you those said factors in my commentary. If you need verification, there is a source. I also brought you the update pertaining to the 3 men who attempted to kidnap Mr. Arbery last winter in Georgia. And the gas shortage here in Tennessee. Yes, we are in a very sad world. Yes, John, he didn't deserve that. Because like they said, we've learned when it comes to African Americans being involved in civilian crimes and police crimes, people always want to dig up something that they did in their life. Whatever it is, whatever they can find. And as this article states, there were 10 things that the state wants to be revealed. Well, it doesn't matter. The point is what he was doing on that day. And so you're using your defense, Mr. McMichael, that there were burglaries in your area, but the data doesn't lie. If only one person reported their car broke in from January 1st to February 23rd of 2020, then it shows that you were racially profiling Mr. Arbery when you, your son, and neighbor chased that man down and cornered him and shot him to death. One burglary in a month and a half. So what were you speaking of as your defense? That I thought he did it. He did this. Which is it? You thought he did it or he did it? Because we now know he ain't done nothing. So you assumed he's your night burglar with no shirt on, sweaty and jogging, with no duffel bag, book bag, nothing. Doesn't matter if he had a book bag and was running. It's none of your damn business. They never bring up good things. He went to church and was on the church choir, graduated with honors. Well, that's right. And that's the whole point. He was a young person. Young people get in trouble, black and white. Let's say that, because I'm really getting tired of every time a black person commits a crime, or excuse me, not commit a crime, but if they're found dead, as I state, by a civilian or shot by the police, it's always digging up something they did. Oh, they got an old drug charge, drinking charge. They had an assault record. They did this. Well, there's a lot of white people got a lot of stuff on their records, because I meet a lot of white people and I see a lot of white folk. And let me tell you, they's grimy as hell too. Stay in trouble with the law and don't mind. And don't mind. But you don't hear about that. You don't hear about that. I live in a state where folks stay in trouble because this is a drug-infested state. Pills, meth, ice, heroin, fentanyl. And I can tell you, there's a lot of black folks, they ain't got them charges on their records. I'll wait. That's them white folks. I'm woke. Stop using the race card. Y'all black folks did this. Y'all stay in it. Y'all killing each other. Well, you white folks, y'all killing each other too. I let somebody have it today on the Newsbreak app. I said, why don't you talk about you the headliners? White people, y'all the headliners on ID channel, Oxygen, Dateline. I'm woke. Stay woke. The pot can't talk about the kettle. Most of the stories on the ID channel right now, if you go into your menu of the ID channel and you hit the blocks for every TV show, series in the ID channel app, that's white folks up in there in them boxes. It's not no us. It's only a handful of us stories on the ID channel, and that's on God. A handful. Most of those stories are of other races: Indian, Hispanic, Caucasian, Oriental, Asian, whatever word you want to use. It's not about us. And I know there's crime in America, and I know there's black on black crime. When you live in an urban demographic, you're going to have more crime, depending on the racial demographic where you are. Sad to say. It's been that way. It didn't happen just a surge overnight. People have been harming each other. I'm sure if you go out to a reservation where it's only Indian, they probably got a lot of high crime amongst themselves. It ain't nothing but them there. Stay woke. Same thing with Asian, Jewish. If you go anywhere where it's a lot of somebody, somewhere, whether it's America or abroad, they can make the same claim. They all look alike, smell alike, walk alike, but they don't like each other. Self-hatred happens everywhere on the globe. And white people kill every day. And like I told the person on the Newsbreak app, white people say on true crime TV shows, you're the headliners. Stop with the degrading of African-American people. Y'all this, y'all that, y'all killing each other. Well, y'all kill your mamas and daddies for insurance money. Y'all kill people randomly, obsessed, mad at the world. Same thing. What you mean? Making your children sick to get attention. GoFundMe pages saying you're dying of cancer so you can milk people out their money. Ponzi schemes. You don't hear a lot of black folks doing that. I'm just keeping it real. We want to play the race card. Just stop it. Anybody kill their own wife or husband for insurance money? Come on now. You don't hear a lot of black people doing that. You don't. Yes, humans in general are horrible. That is the truth. But I get tired of hearing every time somebody black dies in a crime and it's a white person that killed them, be it the police or a civilian, it's always, where's Black Lives Matter now? Look, I'm going to be like Wanda West. At your house? Shut your mouth. What you mean? We as African Americans, we know that we have Black on black crime at an all-time high. That's no secret. But it doesn't give another human, white, black, Hispanic, Asian, the right to snuff us out too. So Black Lives Matter don't have anything to do with what you're talking about. Someone came up with that mantra because they were tired of people in uniform killing Black people. Unwarranted. Doesn't have anything to do with a Black man killed a Black man yesterday or a Black woman killed a Black woman yesterday. It's the fact that we were tired of, still tired of being profiled by the police at every turn for no reason, and also by civilians. Enough is enough, because that proves the point. Yeah, we know about us killing us, hurting us, but we don't need others to jump on the bandwagon to kill us. That's the problem. We know about us. We live around us, some of us, but we don't need others, quotations, to harm us. We don't need people in authority to harm us. Since you say us kills us every day, well, then why don't you others stay in your lane and let us worry about us? Amen. That's my rant for today. I want to thank you all for joining me. God bless America. Man, you all know that those of you who follow my content religiously know that I have not brought you any children's stories due to what I talk about out west, because I just could not take another child story, because it just seems like every day people are abusing children. And it's like you could build a channel just on child stories alone. Never any other topics, if a person chose to. And I'm sick of the abuse of children. And there was some stories I saw here recently that I wanted to talk about, but I just don't really like discussing children's stories. I will bring you updates pertaining to children's stories that I've already previously talked about, such as Evelyn Boswell, the case out in California. But I really don't like talking about any abuse to children, because it is getting out ridiculous. And we're dealing with the Cal City case. All the flack I got and other tubers have gotten talking about those kids. It shows you what kind of world we are in, and that people are sick. And what I tell myself is, if a person or persons can become so irate and ignorant over you discussing abused children, dead children, missing children, that tells you what you're living around. That you're around people who are ill and that they don't have any regard for children as they say they do. So to me, you're no different than the person who got a child missing, abused a child, or killed a child. You are the same caliber, the same weight, cut from the same cloth, the same walk, the same talk. I'm just over. Thank you, Crystal. I'm tired of the stories about children. And there were some stories I wanted to bring you pertaining to children. And I may jump off here and cut this live and come back with two stories that I saw recently that will probably, one of them will stun you, quite frankly, because when I read it, I thought, I know I'm not reading what I think I'm reading. But I'm going to jump back on and I'm going to bring you two stories that I found. I'm breaking my protocol, but I want to show you once again the diabolical world that we live in, where children have no regard. People do not regard their own damn kids. They have no business with children because they don't love themselves. So they can't love a child. And know that when people become ignorant and buffoons in discussing children and aiding the children's guardians and parents, that lets you know 9 times out of 10, these people would do the same thing. And that's what I've been trying to tell you when I talk about Cal City. When you have people who will aid disrespectful human beings, disrespectful guardians of a child, children, any fool that will aid anybody suspected of abuse, I don't have no sympathy for you. I don't have no empathy for you. And I don't want you around me. Because what you're telling me, you're cut from the same cloth. So you see, with all the rhetoric that's gone on pertaining to Cal City children, the people in the chat, social media, you are just like the people in the storyline. You ain't figured that out. That's why you're so damn angry and cussing people out, going off, telling us we don't know nothing. No. Us that's woke know what we need to know. That there's something funky in the Kool-Aid, and your ass been drinking from the same cup too. Shut your mouth. All super chats welcome during the live streams. If you want to donate to the channel, $ Big Angie 129 Cash App. I'm checking out of here. I will be bringing you another story here in a few minutes. If you want to join me for this horrific story of child abuse, please join me in a few minutes with another live. I will drop a link so you can give your opinion pertaining to the information that I'm going to bring to you. It is horrific. So if you have a weak stomach, you probably will not want to join the next live stream. Thank you all so much. Like, share, subscribe. Drop your comments on the community post. God bless all of you. Thank the mods. I will be back in a few minutes with another story. Thank you all so much. I'll talk to you guys later. God bless you.